everyone. Before we learn more about how to write the Yale essays, we wanted to let you know that with your free CollegeVine account, you can get fast feedback on your college essay with our peer essay review. You'll receive detailed inline edits and actionable steps to improve your essay. If you want to become a better writer, you can also review another student's essay. Visit the link in the description below to sign up and review or submit an essay today.
We're now getting to the extended essays. So I want to show you the full text of these essays as I have for the last couple essays. First, the intellectual interest one. Yale's extensive course offerings and vibrant conversations beyond the classroom encourage students to follow their developing intellectual interests wherever they lead. Tell us about your engagement with a topic or idea that excites you and why are you drawn to it? 250 words. So again, specificity is going to be key here. They ask you about a topic, not a broad field, not a subject. It is not necessarily the same thing as your major. So you want to show a passion for whatever topic you choose and for learning more about it. And so while you can absolutely 100% talk about a particular aspect of your major, you might also want to take this opportunity to add a new facet or dimension to your application. Talk about something totally different that you're just engaged with. It doesn't even have to be super academic or intellectual, as long as there's sort of a reflective aspect to it. So for example, you have this intellectual interest in genetics, not biology. So harking back to my example from earlier, it's that really small subset rather than the subject as a whole. Similarly, you might be interested in 15th century European history. That's a really small, narrow niche, but it's also really rich and full of detail and something that you may have engaged with and been passionate about. The third example I gave here is one that is totally non-academic in the traditional sense, but something that is an intellectual interest anyway, automotive design. It's something that you can be really passionate about and have explored deeply, and often is something you will have done largely outside the classroom. Which brings me to the things to avoid in this kind of essay, and that's things you've only done in the classroom. If you have only explored things because you've been assigned to do it, you've been forced into it, it doesn't really ring so true as an intellectual interest that you've been passionate about for some time and want to continue exploring. Similarly, you want to actually talk about something you're passionate about. It is really easy to tell when someone's writing something they think sounds impressive rather than something they actually care about. And then lastly, something with no intellectual or reflective component. Again, this is an intellectual interest essay, not just an interest essay. You can make almost anything intellectual if you try. You just have to make sure that you do reflect on it, something that it's taught you and something you've learned from it. So I want to get into like what a little structure of this essay might look like. First, how answer these questions. How were you introduced to the topic? What is it and how did you find it? Why do you find it interesting? Why do you find it engaging? And then how have you engaged with it? What have you done to deepen or advance your commitment to this thing? How have you approached it in the past? And then finally, a forward-facing question, how do you intend to continue to grow your interactions in the future? What do you hope to gain from it? How do you hope to continue to develop this interest? And so that is where I would take this intellectual interest essay. I'm going to take a moment and look at what questions you guys have because this next section can get a little long. Does it have to connect your intended major? It definitely does not. Absolutely can be completely separate from your major. It can totally relate to your major if you want it to, but it has no obligation to do so. Is it necessary to follow the structure that I've laid out? No, it's not necessary, but I definitely recommend at least touching on all of those ideas to give a really well-rounded expression of your interactions with and passion for this intellectual interest. Can the topic be a fake one? For example, potions. Sure, as long as it's something that you have actually engaged with and tried to learn about. it can't be something that's totally fictional that you made up and you're like, oh, I'm interested in potions because I think that's a really cool idea. It has to be something that you've thought about and engaged with in the past and hope to engage with in the future. So I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, but I won't rule it out as a possibility. I'm most interested in literature, but I have already talked about it in several other essay questions. Would it be redundant to talk about it again? Should I talk about another area of interest? I would probably advise you in this case to talk about something else if you've already covered literature extensively. It asks you about an intellectual interest that you've developed, not your most passionate interest, not something you care about the most. So use this as an opportunity to show a different dimension of yourself so they can understand who you are more fully as a person, rather than seeing you as two-dimensional, just the literature person. Is something like ornithology too broad? No, you can totally talk about ornithology as long as you do get into some specifics about what makes it interesting for you and how you've engaged with it.